What is sex like when you are old, 80 plus? My grandfather once told me that he kept a hammer in his bedside table so that if he brought a lady friend home he could whack it and tell her to jump on before the swelling went down. I miss that old man so much. My 90-year-old nan used to tell me, you just have to use a lot more lube. Gets dry down there. Lol. Fun story, when I was a college kid I went to my maternal grandfather's house. He was at least 80. And has always been known as a womanizer. I believe he was married about 5 times. Anyway, when I got to his house, he had a VHS tape on top of his television which said, sex positions for hip pain, and another one. Yes, he had 2 that said, sex positions for the elderly, so there ya have. Grandpa was getting it on with some help from his friends. The guy the first dated in college was a good friends before and after we dated. I knew his family well. He was super close to his grandparents. His grandparents both graduated from our university. His grandma passed away a bit after we graduated and his grandfather died a couple of years later. We weren't talking regularly at that point. But this guy called me when he was cleaning out his grandparents' house. I answered the phone and he was manically laughing, crying. I honestly thought his mom had died. Nope. He was cleaning out his grandpa's office at the house. Gramps been a Baptist pastor, and found a big box of old sex toys and lube that had clearly been their toy box. He was horrified and cackling on the other end of the phone. And called me because he just had to share it with someone that knew them and didn't know how to tell his mom. I still get a random laugh about it when that story pops into my head. There's a place in Florida called The Villages, where many old people go to retire. It's known to be a huge swinger community with a loofah-based communication system where the color of the loofah, usually displayed on a car or something like that, indicates the kind of stuff you're into. It's also known to have its own strain of gonorrhea. Edit to add, if you Google Villages loofah communication, you'll find a forum for the Villages. Very funny to read through. From what I hear, at least around where I live, STIs are weirdly common on people over 70, because they decide to be super active at that age and don't wear protection. I work with the elderly and know of a few who use prostitutes. It's a pain in the ass for their assisted living managers as you have randoms coming in and out. Danger there also as the sex workers would then give AOB stories to get money out of one old man I know and he would give away his pension and then have nothing for food or bills. One old fella I worked with had posters of topless women all over his bedroom wall, literally plaster like wallpaper all over, and would ring sex lines and run up huge bills. From what I can gather from this thread, 80-year-olds get more sex than the vast majority of petulant Redditors. An older guy, I think he was at least 75 when this occurred, I used to work with once said his wife was very traditional, so it was only missionary for the most part. He said she had amazing tits though and he always wanted to fuck them. He bought a Tempur-Pedic fully adjustable bed for Christmas as a present for both of them. Next time she was in the mood he tilted her upper body just right and finally got to fuck her tits while they were going at it in missionary. While repairing my grandpa's laptop I saw that porn is still a thing in this age, 75 yo. When I was real young I was at my grandparents' house and a porn pop-up came up and it was a dude ejaculating into a girl's mouth and I asked my grandma innocently, why is that man peeing into that lady's mouth, and I forgot that ever happened till I read this thread. He was around 65 to 70 at the time. Just go to the old people home. Grab the boombox and hit the turbo bass. Although what happens next will be a total disgrace. If you're both fit and healthy, probably pretty decent, at least. My 87-year-old great-aunt and her partner of a similar age are definitely banging. A lot. She had a shite life with a very controlling mother and sister. Was forbidden to even date her whole life, although she probably did in secret. But having a stable relationship would have been out of the question. When her mom and sister eventually died, lo and behold, she's suddenly got a boyfriend living with her. Good for her. They totally bone like rabbits. They're both very healthy and spry for people in their 80s. Plus, she has a filthy sense of humor. Then again, she is Irish XD. I went fishing with my grandpa when he was around 84. I asked him, "Grandpa, when do you stop thinking about pussy?" He turned to me and said, "I don't know, sonny, you'll have to ask someone older than me." I don't see a lot at the home where I work, but there are a few more promiscuous ladies. Mostly old dudes asking the CNAs for favors or looking down their shirts or touching them inappropriately. I'm a male in my 30s. I get propositioned semi-jokingly probably 4 to 5 times a year. I think it happens in black and white with a really grainy filter. And old-timey piano music. I'm told it's fine whilst not that old yet. I'm old enough to have friends in that group. Slower, less often but still pleasurable, especially as very often it's couples who are truly fond of each other. Who know each other inside and out and understand what makes each other tick. If you do it doggy style, each jab will have your balls smack her in the face. It ceased to exist in my 40s, so I'm guessing more of the same. Well, according to my mom, who used to work at a nursing home, they are very active. Apparently they also had a residential RPS there too that the staff had to watch like a hawk because he kept attacking all the bedridden women. They couldn't really do anything legally though to remove him from the facility because he wasn't considered mentally competent anymore. So yeah, that was a thing. I'm seeing a lot of, "I work in a nursing home" and comments. So I'd like to provide a different perspective. I'm a 36-year-old male and I am sexually attracted to older women. The partners I have had or am currently active with are 60, 65, 68 and 72 years old. None of them are in nursing homes. And all but one of them, 72, are still working. I can't speak for every older woman out there, but a lot of these comments do hit home. They've preferred not to use protection. They might need a little more lubrication or a little more foreplay sometimes. But they love sex as much as any of us. Some might even say they like it more. But I can't testify to that. What I can say is that these are lovely, beautiful, vibrant women that laugh and smile and have amazing stories of their pasts and hopes for their futures. They aren't caricatures. One of them was married when I met her. And one of them widowed. One of them was very open about the fact that she wanted to be with a younger man, and one seemed to be quite shocked that I wanted her and kept reminding me that she was old enough to be my grandmother. When we were through, she didn't feel that way anymore. My experience with these women has been that they are a lot more direct about their desires and a lot more open with their love and sexuality. We can speculate as to why that is. But I'm currently talking to a 25-year-old lady who maybe, sorta, kinda, possibly likes me, and the runaround of it all is very tiring. Maybe that's because I'm getting older myself. Sometimes I tell these women they are beautiful or lovely or sexy and they smirk or say thank you, you're very kind, but it's a weird disconnect when you share physical intimacy with them and let your body do the talking and there's no room for miscommunication, and then later you tell them with your words what you think and then they blush. Younger women tend to take those comments more in stride. Just an observation. So while I haven't had the pleasure of intimacy with an 80-plus-year-old, I can say from where I'm sitting that sex with someone who is older is amazing. Did a summer holiday working at a care home and the staff were full of stories. There had been love triangles, guests sneaking into each other's bedrooms, playboys in their 90s, and even residents who had cheated on spouses still living at their home. It was even raunchier than my uni that year. Old people get more sex than young people because young people still think they have time to wait. And old people think they waited too long. 3 years after my grandma passed, my grandpa, at age 82, got remarried to another woman his age who was also widowed around the same time. I heard through the grapevine that she was bragging to the other older ladies at coffee about how much action she was getting. Initially I was a little grossed out. But you know what? I'm damn proud my grandpa was getting laid. Reminds me of a joke I heard years ago. Man and woman decide to stay in the same hotel room they stayed at during their honeymoon for their 60th anniversary. Man gores into the bathroom to do his nightly bedtime routine. comes out to find his wife naked, standing in her head, legs wide apart. Shocked to see this, he says, "Gertrude, why are you like this?" Gertrude answers, "I figured since you can't get it up anymore the least you could is drop it in." My better half works in a nursing home, and octogenarian sex is apparently rampant. She mentioned a couple who would do it in the supply closet. And you'd notice because there were 2 walkers parked outside. All without protection of course. Because hey, she won't get pregnant, which causes other issues. And then there's the mortified families of the elderly, who just know their sweet kind mother was raped by this lecherous old man. Never mind that mom is the one who starts it most of the time. My wife says it's a combination of a bit of freedom, a lost spouse, loneliness, and lack of worry about pregnancy. Don't know about 80 plus, but at nearly 70 it is still excellent. You have to adjust to the aging process, but with staying fairly fit it is still the finest free thing I was ever granted except my birth. I hope to be enjoying it at 80 plus too. We're in our 70s, married 50 years, and it's awesome. Not as often as in our 20s, but better orgasms. No hurry because of kids. Or work. Much more fulfilling. What you are about to read is a true story. I used to live in a duplex. My neighbor was a 76-year-old retired old man. He had family that visited every few days, and from what I gathered his wife was dead. He was friendly enough. We would make small talk here and there. I work late shifts, often coming home at 2 a.m. One day I just got home from work. It was my weekend, so I was gonna have a few drinks and play some Xbox before I went to bed. An hour and a few shots of whiskey later I go out to my front porch to smoke a joint. Sitting outside is my neighbor. He asks me if I can help him with something. Me being drunk, I'm like, fuck yay. I can help you, sir. I walk into his living room and he says, "Can I suck your cock?" Now, I'm bi, although I've never been attracted to old men. In that moment I felt awkward and a little uncomfortable. So naturally I said yes. Turns out this dude gives the best head ever. I was blown away. I was casually seeing a girl at the time, just a fling, and his head blew hers out of the water. So this became a regular thing. I fucked that dude many times. He was always down for it. I moved out of the duplex about a year after that. I met up with him once or twice once I was moved out. He dead now though. My mom is 80 this year. About 10 years ago, one of her good friends, who was 88 at the time, went to her hometown to visit an old boyfriend for sex. When she got back, she called and told my mom all the details. She died 2 weeks later. Apparently, this man was quite handsome and only 70. He was at her funeral and had the senior ladies all aflutter. Even my mom wanted a go at him. Worked in a hospital. Have had patients who were 80 plus that were moved from nursing home to nursing home because they had sex with other residents all the time. Unfortunately, some of these people were suffering from dementia or were otherwise impaired. So really couldn't consent and were at risk of catching STDs. But, apparently, older folks still enjoy it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.